A few years ago, we had 9% inflation. Prices were going up 9% a year. That inflation didn't originate in a vat. It was man-made, and that man's name is Joe Biden. President Biden was an inflation machine. Now, since then, the Trump administration, Republicans in Congress, and the Federal Reserve have gotten inflation down from 9% to 3%. So things are better, but they're not well. The truth is there are limited things that the executive branch can do. Only Congress can solve this problem, and specifically the United States Senate. And what we need to do in the United States Senate is get up off our ice-cold, lazy butts and start passing bills.
Okay, that was Senator John Kennedy saying Joe Biden was the inflation machine. Republicans need to get up and start passing bills to fix cost of living problems that Trump inherited from Biden. Now, the Federal Reserve is widely expected to cut interest rates on Wednesday to a range of 3.5% and 3.75%. That'll help. The president wants more cuts. He wants to fix the economy. He's saying that the Fed should more rapidly reduce rates. This will fix housing affordability as well. Let's bring in podcast host Ben Ferguson. Ben, it's great to see you. What's your reaction to what Senator John Kennedy is saying? Because Politico is saying this is a Republican problem, that they need to step up and do something.
Yeah, look, when you're in charge and you're asked to be in charge, you've got to deliver. And if you say you're going to deliver on affordability and you know what you're inheriting, then there better be a payoff. Now, with that being said, the big, beautiful bill that passed, I think what they have to do a much better job of explaining is that a lot of the things in that bill are going to become a reality January 1. One of the biggest things that's about to hit is no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. That has not hit the economy. It will not until January. And so that is one of the examples of where they need to do a better job messaging. I agree with them, by the way. We need to get more done and we need to pass more legislation. But there is going to be some significant relief coming from phase one of what Donald Trump has been advocating for. Now, I'll also say this, and I agree with Senator Kennedy. Republicans better realize that they need to work together and not have a lot of infighting, because that is what the recipe for disaster is. So if Republicans want to be walking around talking about, hey, go out and buy beautiful things for your family, buy that diamond tennis bracelet for Christmas instead of worrying about the price of oil or gas or whatever it may be at the grocery store, they better get it done very, very quickly, because that's what they were elected to do.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big fight that's coming this week. It's starting right now with the president having to fight against the Democrats teeing up affordability. I mean, we saw great numbers, solid shopping numbers for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. That's right. I mean, the president is doing things like signing an executive order to stop price fixing and foreign influence driving up things like grocery prices. That the administration is making it clear that foreign influences in the food supply are in from foreign land purchases to supply chain manipulation. That's what's hitting grocery prices. Do you think that's a messaging thing that he can do too? He's talking about China's growing footprint in U.S. agriculture. So there's a lot of avenues that this Trump White House could take, but we've got Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries hammering away that affordability is a Trump problem.
It's always easier to point the other guy when you're not in charge and say it's his fault, he's in charge. I go back to this: keep it simple, stupid. Talk about basic things that Americans care about. Talk about the victories on the price of gas right now. The national average is at $3 a gallon. That is incredible. Remind them where it was when Biden was in office. But you also have to then look at things like the affordability on Obamacare and the subsidies and how to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse. You've got to keep it simple. And Republicans, I'm just going to be honest with you, we suck at this. We've got to do a better job of uniting and telling the story. And again, I go back to the no tax on tips and overtime. You got to celebrate that and say it's just about 30 days away from now, and remind Americans what's happening in just a moment.
Yeah, and the inflationary pressures are still there from the Biden economy. I mean, 9% inflation is 5% average, 6% average every year. Trump's bringing it down below 3%. But, cumulatively, it still hurts, right? It's above 22% from Biden to now. Ben Ferguson, thank you so much. It's good to see you.